going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Auto Auction Rebuilds, where we're back at it again with the Foxbody. So I told you we were going to come back with a compression gauge. I couldn't include that in the last video because I didn't have one, and today was Copart walk around, so that means it's Monday, January the 11th, 2021. I'm still not used to saying that. So for me, this is Monday, January 11th. For you, I have no idea what day it is, but I'm trying to get this car figured out. So we could make it real simple and just put the compression gauge on cylinder 8, since we know that that's probably where the issue is, but we're not going to do that. We're going to do all of them. We're going to do 1 through 8. We're going to start with number 1, work our way down to 4. We have all 8 spark plugs removed. All the fuel injector wires are disconnected. The coil wire is disconnected, so nothing's going to happen. It is cold. You should probably do this with the engine warm to get a more accurate reading. When it's cold, you're going to get better compression. Unfortunately, I already had the engine tore apart, so it is what it is. So there she is in all of her not glory. I shouldn't have gotten... I'm so upset with myself. I know better than to get excited about a car and just jump into it. I know better, I know better, I know better, I know better. Now, since we last spoke, I learned a few things, which is always good. All right, so number 1, we found the wire that goes to the idle air control valve. That's very important. This is very important. We also figured out what these 2 different plugs go to. This plug with the green wire is for the engine coolant temperature sensor. Okay, right there. That goes to the computer. This wire that's identical but has different colors goes to a canister purge solenoid that should have been mounted somewhere over here and no longer exists. So this is no longer needed. All right, we also have this one right here that wasn't plugged in before. This goes to the EGR valve. We also found there's a bunch of vacuum lines down here that are disconnected. I'm not sure what all of these go to. I'm pretty sure this one probably goes to this one somehow. These right here, since the smog pump has been removed, there's a couple of these that can be disconnected, or actually just routed back and forth. There's a black and a white right here. Black and white can be looped. They're not needed, so you would loop this to this one. This one is not in use. That leaves these 2. Red goes to, I believe, red goes to the EGR valve, and white goes to the bottom of the intake when we put it back on. So that will hook everything up for the EGR vacuum solenoid somewhere down here. We'll get all of those vacuum lines rerouted to give this thing the best possible chance of running properly. But first, we've got a compression gauge hooked up. I went all out, man. I spent like $64 on this bad boy. Maybe it's $60. O'Reilly's Auto Parts. Braided steel line. It came with all the adapters and everything. So we're going to start, as you can see, we're down here in cylinder 1. We're going to start with that, and well, let's see what we do. Let's see if I can set this camera up so you guys can watch without it falling off when I crank it. Now, I can't guarantee that the phone is not going to go crashing down on the floor. I hope it doesn't. It's a very expensive phone, and I use it for all of my videos nowadays, so I'm going to be very gentle climbing in the car. Oh, man, that 3,000-pound clutch. I'm telling you what, man. All right, are you ready? Let's see what cylinder 1 does. That should have been sufficient. Very gently. I saw the camera move, so I'm going to be very careful getting out of the car. I saw it kind of dancing down the fender apron, and I'm like, uh-oh. So I'm not sure what the numbers are supposed to be on this, but I mean, it gives you a general idea. You've got red here and green over here. We're sitting at about, what, 120, 130, 135, 140 PSI, and you want it to be within 75% across all cylinders. So let's try to remember that. We're looking at about 100 and, actually that's about 140. That's 140 PSI right there, okay? Remember that, 140 on cylinder 1. All right, cylinder 2. All right, let's see where we're at on cylinder 2. Remember, we were at about 140 on cylinder 1. Cylinder 2, about the same. Very nice. In fact, it's exactly the same, 140. Yet again, let's go to cylinder 3. For cylinder number 3, because the orientation of the headers I've got to use this kind of special adapter here to squeeze it in. There's just no other way. So I think we got it. Go ahead and crank it till I tell you to stop. Stop. That did not work out as good as I hoped on camera, but this cylinder is also at 140 PSI. So now we can move on to cylinder number 4. Let me tell you something, guys. Doing it this way is a lot more difficult than just screwing it in, but go ahead. The clutch is heavy, so bear with us. Oh. Yeah, that didn't go over well. Wait. I'm not getting this in a... Go ahead. All right. Okay, so again, this one's a little less, but it may be because I just couldn't hold it in very well. Hopefully you can see there. Come on, zoom in. There we go. Yeah, it's close enough, guys. It's close enough. Let me switch back to trying to screw this in. I think that will make things just a little bit easier. So here we are on the other side of the motor. We're screwed into cylinder number 5. I try to screw it into the head whenever possible. This eliminates any chance of me possibly not holding tight enough against the spark plug hole and losing compression that way, which I'm pretty sure that's what happened over there on cylinder number 4. So go ahead and try it on cylinder number 5. Let's see what the results on this side of the head look like. Oh. Ooh, that is really, really, really low. Okay, so rings, or make sure this is tight, possible head gasket over here like we were suspecting to begin with. Let's try cylinder number 5 again. Okay, obviously there's no possible way we're going to get any kind of good combustion on that cylinder. That one's very bad. All right, let me move this over to cylinder 6. All right, let's see what cylinder 6 looks like. Oh, wow. Okay, that's that's real bad. Let's move on to cylinder 7. All right, let's try again with cylinder number 7. Ah. Okay, cylinder number 7 looks good. What do you guys think? I'm thinking a blown head gasket between cylinders number 5 and 6. Although, the worst one of the spark plugs was cylinder number 8. So I'm really curious to see what compression rate readings we get on cylinder 8. But so far, it's looking like a head gasket issue between cylinders number 5 and 6. All right, guys, last one, cylinder number 8, the one that I expect to be worse than the rest of them. Let's see if I'm wrong. No, I'm not wrong. That one's really bad. Very interesting, guys. So, comment below and tell me what you think. The passenger side is good. The driver's side is bad. Cylinders 5, 6, and 8 are just awful. Are you maybe not a head gasket? What if it's a valve clearance issue? There's an idea. Well, this puts me in a very interesting position. Obviously, I knew something was going to come at the compression test. I knew it would. I didn't really expect it was going to be that bad, though. You know, I'm sitting here racking my brain on the different things it could be. Could it be misadjusted valves? The valves are not closing all the way, leaking compression. Yes. Yes, it could, except I have now turned the engine over several times, and I can feel very clearly the rockers. When the valves are closed, the rockers are just a tad loose, you know, not super loose, but just you can move them around. the valves are closed. So that moves on to, could it be possibly a few bent valves? Maybe, but there's cutouts in the pistons, so I wouldn't think you would have piston to valve contact in the event that there was a timing chain issue on this car, which I don't think there is. So I don't think there would be a bent valve issue. Okay, moving along. Could it be the valve seats? Maybe the valves weren't seated properly. Maybe. It's possible. But again, I think that's probably pretty unlikely. And then kind of the last thing that's got me is head gasket. It could be rings. It could. It absolutely could be rings. With the amount of blow-by that we're getting into the crankcase, definitely a possibility that it's rings. Can you see the wheels turning in my head? Like, I'm sitting here thinking of all the possibilities and what it's going to take to diagnose, to dig into this further. And basically what it's going to take, without a doubt, is pulling the head off. This will require, I mean, we're already there. The thing is, it's crazy. Like, now that the valve covers are off and we're down to the lower plenum and I've got all the wires off of the fuel rail and everything, it's just a matter of moving the fuel rail out of the way, taking off a couple more wires, and we can pull the lower intake off. Once we get the lower intake off, the headers come off relatively easily. Disconnect the headers, and off comes the head once you get that front accessory bracket off. It's really not a big deal. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but, and here is where here's where the wheels in my head start turning. Is this worth the labor that's about to go into it? Because once you remove the head, it's not like you can just throw the old head gasket and everything back on, put it together. You can't do that. Once you remove that cylinder head, all right, new head gasket has got to go on it. Maybe new head bolts on this engine, I don't know. Now, we may pop the head gasket off and find out that was the problem. Maybe it's just got a severely blown head gasket on the driver's side. That I could accept. Still not 100% sure that that would push compression into the engine unless the compression ring on the head gasket was blown between the cylinder and an oil galley. Then I could see it. Even if it was just one, that would be enough compression. As we can see, 3 of them on the driver's side are very low on compression. So we might have 3 cylinders blowing compression into the engine. Aside from that, cracked cylinder wall, you know, there's a million and one things. It could be a cracked block. Who knows what we're going to find when we get in there. But I'm sitting here trying to decide, is this really worth it? With all the things we found wrong with this car, with the front end being welded in a shoddy manner, you guys, we've already been through this. The extent of things wrong with this car, in my opinion, this car is junk. It'd be great if I could get my $3,000 back, but at this point, you know, what do? Do I tear it down, find out what's wrong, and fix the engine? Put it all back together with a working motor? Maybe. And have a car that's absolutely junk and an engine that's pretty much the same stock engine you could find just about anywhere else? I don't think the engine's worth that much. So to me, the labor doesn't really make sense. Fixing the engine so that the car can be driven down the road and sold to somebody? No, that doesn't sound like a good idea either. This is a car that, to me, needs to go back to auction. We need to bolt it back together, make it run the way it did. In fact, it should run a little better, because I'll make sure that all of the wiring and the vacuum lines are hooked up properly so that it'll at least run a little better. You know what? Send her down the road, man. That's where I'm at. Now, for you guys, I'm going to let you guys go ahead and comment on this video and tell me what your thoughts are. A lot of you are a whole lot smarter than I am. I'll be the first to admit that. You guys know I'm just a guy that does this stuff under a shade tree, and now I do it in a garage. So I'm no expert. I'm happy to admit that to you guys. But with all the rust and the rotted out strut towers and the K-member and the just everything else wrong with this car, what's the point? What's the point? Maybe somebody could buy this at auction. They could use it as a parts car for something that they're building, that they're working on. I mean, it does run, and it will. The thing that kills me about this car is being stock. When you take off, it's down 3 cylinders, guys. 3 cylinders she's down. She's running on barely over half an engine. And this thing will get out and just light the tires up. I mean, she gets it. Maybe it's got 411s in the back or something, because she moves, man. I hate to do this to it, but I think for me, right now, I'm going to bolt it all back together, and I'm going to go park it out yonder. I'm going to park it in the field of shame with all the other cars that sit in the field of shame for not being cars that I feel are really worthy of doing any more repairs to. But what I will do is I will wait to see your comments and get a better idea of what you guys think. I think most of you are going to agree with me, even when it comes down to content. To what end? What are we doing? I don't mind pulling a motor. I don't mind tearing a motor down. Weird Beard even said, man, I'll come over and help you out. He was ready to come help me out. So it's not about not being able to. It's not about not knowing how to. I've done it before. This is an easy engine to work on. It's not about the engine. It's about the whole car. I have to look at the whole picture. Yeah, the pictures are round, right? The whole picture. I gotta look at the whole picture, man. And I just, it's like, yeah, let's fix up the motor. Let's drop money into the motor and hope that we can fix it. Also that we can have this, a junk body that's got a decent motor, stock, and a stock transmission. I'm just not seeing it, guys. Maybe I'll find another Foxbody. I'm going to keep my eyes open, but I think next time I'm going to be a lot more careful. I'm going to start bolting this thing back together. You guys, do me a favor. Drop your comments below right now what you think we should be doing with this car. I can't have this car sitting on the lift taking up space. Right now, I got a lot of thinking to do, and I want to see where y'all's minds are at on this before I go any further. So it's not hard to take it apart. That's the good thing. Once we take it apart, I'm married to it. You know what I mean? Once we get that cylinder head off, I'm married to this project. I'm not ready to put a ring on it just yet. So I think I'm gonna put the little pieces back together. It'll take me an hour and a half tops. I'll have the top of the motor put back together, and we'll be able to drive it out of here and go park it in a field where I feel like it belongs there. Well, she's all back together. She's actually running a lot better, but you know, nothing I did can fix low compression. That's still an issue. But I've got all of the vacuum lines hooked up where they're supposed to go. The PCV valve was hooked up in the wrong place. Everything was just backwards on this intake. I've got the map sensor reconnected. It was not connected before. The EGR valve was disconnected. It is reconnected. All of the vacuum lines going to all of these things have been rerouted properly. The idle air control valve is now hooked up. It wasn't even hooked up before. As you can see, aside from missing on what? How many cylinders is it missing on? 3? We got like 1, 2, and 3 cylinders missing. The 2 back ones and the front one over here are definitely too low on compression to really be firing well at all. But she's running. She's holding an idle. And now that everything is hooked up properly, one thing that I'm not noticing, along with the thicker oil, is I don't have oil blowing out of the engine all over the place and burning. Now, we can try the, oh wow, yeah, here we go, whoa! That, oh man, that hit me in the face. Wow. Wow. Okay. So I'm gonna have oil all over my face now. That's nice. I got my face right in that. Hey, like I said, nothing we did is gonna fix low compression. I really am thinking head gasket or rings, guys, and I just don't know. I don't know. You guys can feel free to comment. Man, I hate to. I don't even know what to do with this. I don't even know what to do with this right here. It's crazy though. She's holding a really good idle, considering oil pressure is really good. Oh yeah, that's right. We don't have dash lights either. Dash lights don't work. Or maybe they do, I don't know. No, dash lights don't work. When I hear this thing run, guys, it just kills me to know where it's going to end up, man. It does. I hate it. I hate it. Fire it up one more time. See what she sounds like. Even running on 5 cylinders, she still runs relatively well and can hold an idle. Yeah. Sad day on this one, man. Sad day. We were so close to pulling that head off, too. I mean, I was this close when I turned the camera off to just going ahead and doing it and surprising you guys. I looked into it. There are 3 bolts. 1, 2, and the third one is hiding somewhere. Anyway, 3 bolts pulls this whole front off. There used to be an EGR pipe on the back that has been deleted. It's blocked off, so there's nothing back there to worry about. 8 bolts on the header, it comes off, and then I believe there's like 12 bolts on the head and 12 bolts on the intake. That's it. That's all it was. We were about to remove the intake, and that head could have come off, and we would have gotten a much closer look at the pistons themselves, the cylinder head, the head gasket. But like I said, guys, I could have done this, in another hour and a half. We could have had the head off. Tops an hour and a half. The head would have been off, and then what? Yeah, that's kind of where I was at. And then what after that, man? The head's off, great. Now we can probably find out what's wrong with it. Great. What's that going to do for me? It's going to make me want to put money into a car that is absolutely not worth it. Oh well, I'm going to die of carbon monoxide poisoning in less than 5 minutes if I don't shut this thing off. I just wanted to let it warm up a little bit because it is about to take its walk of shame out into the field yonder. All right, I got the shop aired out. Now it's freezing in here, and it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I have an auction in the morning, and boy, am I trying to win something. Well, you know what? It's probably going to turn into something just like this Mustang. More than likely, that's just my luck. But you guys can join me for the ride, man. It should be a hell of a ride. Because if I can get it running, it's going to be pretty awesome. It's going to be pretty awesome. I am going to get out of here. Like I said, it's late, and I feel like I didn't really get anything accomplished. We tore down the Mustang to the point where we could really check things out, start diagnosing it, and in the process of tearing it down, found out it's got a lot more problems. So guys, here's the thing. If you didn't watch the last video, it's imperative that you watch the last video. You really need to understand everything else that's wrong with this car. If you're just watching this video and you're like, oh sure, put a motor in it. Let me tell you something. I got a motor on standby, a long block. It's almost not exactly intake to pan, but it's a long block. It's pretty much ready to drop in, guys. It's a little money, $2,500, but in my opinion, that's a good price for a reman motor with a warranty. To me, not a big deal. Guys, this is a stick shift on top of that. This car is so easy to pull the motor out of. I mean, super, super simple. This is something you can do, especially with the tools I've got here. I still don't have an engine hoist. With an engine hoist, you could knock this out probably in a couple hours. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. The wiring harnesses, I think, pretty much just all come off with it. And you could pull this motor out in 2 to 3 hours, okay? 2 to 3 hours, and probably another conservative 3 to 4 hours to put a new motor in, swapping certain parts over, making sure you do everything right. It's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. I would have no problem doing it. But the issues we found on the last video, everything, when you take the whole thing into consideration, why? It doesn't make any sense. To me, it doesn't make any sense, guys. It's a waste of money, and honestly, it's a waste of my time. I feel like it's a waste of your time, too. So even though I could probably get a little content and make a little revenue off of it, I could be doing better things. I could be doing things that are a little more fun, a little more exciting than fixing an engine in a car that's pretty much junk. So that's where I'm at. Let's see what your comments say. And until then, this car is going to go sit in a field until I make a final decision. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give the video a big thumbs up. And if you didn't, that's cool. Give it a big thumbs down. Don't hesitate, man. Don't feel bad about it. If you don't like the video, you don't like the video. Drop your comments, please. Drop your comments down below and tell me what you think I should do with this monstrosity, this POS Foxbody. I love these cars. I do. I love the Foxbody. It really sucks that this one is just... And there were some people that were commenting saying that I was being too harsh on the previous owner with this car. Guys, I never said anything about the previous owner, but I can tell you now after digging into this, I think the previous owner knew. Guys, the previous owner knew. That's another thing's got me thinking maybe it's more than a head gasket. You know what I mean? Maybe it's more than a head gasket. Come on now. If the previous owner did all this work to put this engine together, why wouldn't you replace a head gasket? That's nothing. Takes no time at all. Why wouldn't you replace a head gasket unless you knew there was something bigger? I don't know. I don't trust it. That's all it is, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Stay safe out there, everybody. And I look forward, everybody. Stay safe out there, everybody. I look forward to seeing you all very soon. I got to go to bed in the next one.